Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Friday, June 26th. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am with the good luck charm of DFS Coach Talk with the Shane. That's Irish type name. It's a good luck charm. And Andrew and I have both been crushing it when we do the podcast with Shane. So, Sugar Shane, tell me we're going to have another one tonight.
Yeah, I think we got some good vibes going here. I think we did. I remember, we did a podcast a few weeks ago, and you played somewhere around $100, and you cashed over $1,300. And then, of course, our guy Andrew just crushed it the other night, played a little over 100, and came out with only like $5,400. $5,000 takedown. And we were joking. One of the guys that really set him apart was the Jay Hwan Kim from the Doosan Bears, and you and Andrew were playing him a lot in the early of the year, and I would troll you guys in the Discord. Yeah. I said, "Are you crazy playing this guy? He looks lost at the plate right now, and he's a former MVP of the league. He just looked lost." And so I said to Andrew that night, I said, "Man, this guy's heating up, man. I like him. He's my favorite player right now for Doosan on the whole slate. One of my favorite plays." And of course, he probably liked him too already, but he threw him in there and he crushed it for like 32 DraftKings points. He just was raking. And that was one of the plays that set Andrew apart to win that $5,000. So it's just kind of a funny thing that I finally agreed with you guys on him,
It makes a difference. I know you used to give us a lot of noise in Discord, so it's pretty funny, man. But no, I'll tell you, before we even get started, I'm ecstatic. This is my first 5-star slate, pre-slate. Now, I had a 5-star slate earlier in the season because there were some late scratches that made it just perfect. So I'm ecstatic. I think this is one of the best cards. I like the matchups. I like the stacks, and they just happen to fit salary-wise. So I'm stoked up. Plus, I get to do a show with you. I know you always get excited. Andrew refuses to go above 3 on anything because, he's Mr. Consistency.
Oh, yeah.
This looks like a 3 slate to me, so getting I figured I could drag you up to at least a 4 probably by the time we're done with this.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about like a 4. There's some interesting things we're going to talk about with the pitchers, and there's just a lot of stuff going on this slate, which makes it really great if you dig into the statistics and everything. It's looking really good, and we don't have to worry about weather, which we're always happy about that. And hey, it's only 4 a.m. Eastern time, which is what 3 a.m. for you in the Central. Wow, that's great. That's an early call for us there.
It's it makes it where I just stay up because I'm in Discord about 2:20. No sense in going to bed at that point. So just go with it, man. It's KBO has done very little for correct sleep habits, but you know what? As long as we keep crushing it and making money like this for our members, then we're going to keep rolling with it. So before we get running here, real quickly, a quick shout out to our sponsors. MyBookie, go to mybookie.ag for all your sports and casino action. You get an exclusive offer with the promo code Coach Talk, and that's just for our members. It's a 50% sign-up bonus, up to $1,000, and a $25 free play as well. And you can get to mybookie.ag. You could go any way through any link or anything you have. Just put the promo code Coach Talk in to get that special offer. And then TVG, that's where the world goes to watch and wager on horse racing. That's at tvg.com, and they are on every cable network or dish or direct TV, you name it, TVG 1 and 2. And tomorrow's a big racing day for those guys with 6 or 7 stakes races between Belmont and Churchill. So tune in tomorrow for them. Risk-free bet of $300, Shane. So great offer. You have to sign up TVG through the DFS CoachTalk.com website, and you get you put the money in, make the bet. If your horse loses, you get the money back. So you can't beat it. All right. Let's dive into this KBO slate because obviously I'm chomping at the bit here with this 5-star slate. I'll talk a little bit more about FanDuel. You can dive into DraftKings a little bit more because, the slate that pushed me over the top for the 5 stars is FanDuel tonight because it just fit perfectly into salaries. But great weather tonight. No worries there, like you mentioned. That's very key. That's always important. So let's go right off the bat here with game number 1, and that's the Kia Tigers at 24-19, and the Kiwoom Heroes at 28-18, with a real chalky joker, Eric Jokic, pitching. The mybookie.ag website, just clicked on the refresh to make sure we have the latest odds. We've got Kiwoom is a 172 home favorite, and the over-under in that game is the lowest of the 5 games at 8.5. So I know that's going to draw a lot of people, to the Joker there, and rightfully so. I understand that. What I want to say, and then I'll turn the game over to you to give us the in-depth look here, is I've had the Joker the last couple of games. He's done okay, but not to the point where I think he's just a dead set lock and load pitcher. And whenever I can fade the highest owned pitcher on the slate, where I feel it makes sense, and the Kia bats, are good. They're hot, and I think I'm going to start the show off by saying a surprising piece. I may completely fade the Joker. Am I crazy?
No, I don't think that's completely crazy. On DraftKings, he's $9,400. It's pretty expensive. You got to if you want to load up on some big bats on DraftKings, that's going to take a lot out. He doesn't have extremely high upside in this matchup. I mean, there's always the potential. He's a good pitcher, but statistically, it doesn't look like really high upside for $9,400. He's just kind of a safe middle of the road play. He's $28 on FanDuel, the same thing. The issue is the Kia Tigers are pretty good at. They have a pretty low strikeout percentage. They're one of the better teams in the league. Some of their best hitters like Sun Bin Kim, and Preston Tucker, Hyung Woo Cha. All those guys are very low strikeout rate. So they're hard to get through the order and get a lot of strikeouts. They can put up some runs against you. So it's not necessarily a great matchup here. It is a pitcher's park, but it's pretty neutral park. So that's why with the Joker here, with Jokic, he's not necessarily a lock and load type play. He's not a bad play, but I could see his ownership being pretty high because he's put up some good games against some pretty inferior matchups here. But this matchup doesn't provide as much upside for him. So yeah, I would say that that's probably not the worst move to fade Jokic. If you want to play him, it's not necessarily, I don't think we're going to fault you, but it's going to be a close cutoff whether he's going to make our player pool on DraftKings. He's right on the edge of the player pool because we're looking at some of these other pitchers we're talking about. But this is a pitcher's duel here. You can see a very low over under. And the opposing pitcher for Kia, Hyung Jung Yang, is not a bad pitcher. He's been a little up and down, but traditionally I know in 2019 he was one of the best pitchers in this league. So he's fully capable of having a good game here. Kiwoom does have a really good lineup, but it makes you a little nervous about playing some of the Kiwoom bats here, being that this is kind of a pitcher's duel, a really low scoring kind of game. And it's really hard to pick. There's going to score. Maybe they'll score a few runs, but good luck picking which guys are going to be able to get those, hits. Do you like any of the bats in this matchup, being that it's a pitcher's duel?
I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's sort of a double-edged sword here. If we're going to fade the bats because we think the pitching's good, but we're not going to roster the pitchers, it sort of goes against itself. But this is just one of those tweener games for me where I respect the pitchers enough that I don't want to roster any hitters here because I do think they're both decent, but I don't feel as though they're great plays. I think there's better pitching plays than these two guys. So I'm comfortable with fading them. I guarantee you the Joker's going to be well above the highest owned pitcher on the slate. So, from a contrarian standpoint and from the rest of the build, that definitely sets you apart. Now, if he throws a huge game on the board, that's definitely going to hurt, especially with the high usage. But I think, and high ownership, but I think your point is great. Kia does a good job with contact. They're not a big strikeout team. They do have some decent enough right-handed bats to cause a little bit of trouble. So I'm with you, man. I'm fading the pitchers and I'm fading the hitters, and I think it's going to be massively contrarian.
Yeah, I think at least for Jokic, I think their people are probably not going to be super high owned on the batters from Kia or Kiwoom here. But yeah, Jokic, if you look at his last game, for example, he's pretty good. But his last game, he went against the SK Wyverns. Is that how you pronounce it? Wyverns.
Wyverns.
Yeah, Wyverns, which they're not really that great, But the game before that, he went up against Lotte Giants, and he got roughed up pretty good there in that game, giving up 6 hits, gave up a home run. He only had 1 strikeout that game, so he kind of struggled in that game there. Only had 6.7 DraftKings points there. So he's not necessarily a for sure thing in this matchup. He's very limited on his upside. So I think he's a good fade. A lot of people, I think, on DraftKings look at that. They show the average points per game for the pitchers on there. So they'll look at that, where you can't really do that on FanDuel with the pitchers, because they just show whatever team. They would just show the Kiwoom average pitchers.
They don't specify the pitcher. One thing I wanted to mention too before we jump to game 2 is Yang was one of the Cy Young level pitchers last year in the league, up for their best pitcher award. He's one of the highest paid pitchers in the league. So, that's why his salary on DraftKings is very high, but it's very low on FanDuel. So, if you want to take a shot there, you can. Again, I respect Kia and Kiwoom's bats, and I think it's a good game to move on.
I think there. if you're doing FanDuel multiple lineups, if you're getting a tournament and you want to put in, let's say, 5 or 5 to 8 lineups, you could throw in Yang at $22 on FanDuel and load up on some really big bats that we're going to talk about later in this podcast here. So, it's probably one of those multiple lineup strategies. Or if you want to be contrarian, I don't think anyone's going to want to pay $9,700 on DraftKings. So if you feel like you have enough value, we can give you some value plays on DraftKings for batters. You could pay up for one of your pitchers here, $9,700, and he'd be very contrarian on DraftKings. So again, he definitely could go. He's the type of guy that can go, pretty far into the game as well. He didn't have a good game last game though against Samsung. He was pretty bad. So that's where he's a contrarian play there. Definitely.
Okay, you locked up a little bit, but I got you. All right, let's hit game 2. KTW at 19-26. They fall into 7 games under 500 against the Hanwha Eagles at a rousing 12-34. On my bookie right now, we have the KT Wiz minus 200, which is the biggest favorite on the slate, and the over/under in that game is 9.5. And my strategy today is a major stack, and KTW is the stack. What do you think, KTW, tonight?
Well, I mean, I'm the official fan club holder for Bako Kang. You already know that, so I might as well start a fan club website for him at this point. And he just mashes against righties. He's a left-hand big power guy, batting cleanup there, and he's just been really hot lately. So definitely, I love him. And Mel Rojas Jr. is really good. Love the leadoff hitter, Jay Bay. It depends if he bats, first or second, but Jiang Dae Bay has been really hot lately as well. It kind of depends. We got to look and see what their lineup, if they're going to have Min Hyo Kim in there batting, first. He's also viable here. He's only 3,700 on DraftKings. But Jeong Dae Bae that I was just talking about is only 2,900 on DraftKings and $9 on FanDuel. So that gets you the value right there. And then the Min Hyuk Kim that I was just talking about is only $8 on FanDuel. He's very low price there. And then you got your big guys. Like I said, you're going to have to pay up for those guys, though. Bak Ho Kang and Mel Rojas Jr., but they're in a great spot against against Min Woo Kim, who gives up a lot of power, he's just not a good pitcher. You said that last time you watched him, he looked really bad.
Yeah, he doesn't have good stuff. He leads the league in a dubious category of giving up the most homers. He's given up 9 dingers on the season, which is pretty hard to do in the amount of innings he's pitched. But I'm with you, man. Those top 4 or 5 hitters, you got to pay up for Kang and Rojas, and I'm fine with that. But you get that relief with Bae and Young Ho Jo. There's a lot of other guys, Han Jun Yu as well. So those first 5 hitters are all playable. I'll have some monster stacks of these guys across the board against a pitcher that I think they should just rough up big time. So this is my key game of the night. I think that these guys should absolutely rock this guy. And as we know, Hanwha's bullpen is just complete trash. So I'm fired up for this game, man. I really am.
Yeah, it's looking like a good stack here. It's not usually a good thing to go up against Hanwha. I will again mention. I'm going to mention on most of these. It's not the best. It's near kind of neutral, but it's not the best hitters park here. There's a game we're going to get to. I'll talk about that. I think is the best hitters park in the best stack and the best position in terms of the park factor, which we'll get to that.
Okay, very good. All right, here's another good one on the board here. LG Twins 25-20 against the SK Wyverns at 14-31. And we've got my bookie stats right now. Odds. We've got the LG Twins are a 149 road favorite. And the over-under middle of the pack here at 9.5. So an interesting game. I think that there are some good guys here that you can go after. For me, I absolutely love the pitcher Chan Hyun Jung. I think he's pitched well this year, consistent. And he can strike some people out. He keeps the ball down. And he gets to go against SK bats. So I know a few of the SK guys have hit a little bit lately, but nothing to write home about. I think Jung, for the pricing that he is on DraftKings, he's only 7,100, which I think is a dead steal. And I'm okay paying $28 for him on FanDuel. Not a bargain there by any stretch. It tied for highest price, but I'm not going to let that scare me away because I get enough value with some of the bats that I stack. So I think this is I like the Lotte bats here. I'm sorry, the LG bats here, and I like Jung, and I'm completely fading SK, and I do not like Pino. I think that he is a grinder that is just trashy pitcher. I don't think he's got good stuff. And I think he's a good guy to target against. And he still gets a little play being a foreign pitcher coming in. He has found a way to win 3 games of the 14 that SK's won, but just always on the edge of getting blown up. His ERA's in the mid-4s. So it's a Twins night for me.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at the LG pitcher, Jung here, Chan Hyun Jung, he's definitely underpriced on DraftKings. So it's really hard not to play him at $7,100. And if you pay up for him at $28 on FanDuel, that's a little bit lower ownership. On FanDuel, I always talk about Jung is a good candidate. He doesn't necessarily start as much, but when he does start, he goes deep into the game. So he's a great candidate for the quality start on FanDuel and the win, being that they're going up against Pinto, and LG should be able to put up a lot of runs against Pinto and definitely get to him. So when you look at that, that's again on FanDuel, you're looking at a 10-point bonus. Plus Jung is striking out at 24.4%, which is really high for the slate, and he's going up against 19.2% for SK. They strike out a lot. So there's a lot of good factors going on there. Now this is the best hitters park in the entire slate here at SK, and I really do like the LG stack, and I think you can stack their left-handed bats against Pinto. Pinto's interesting because he doesn't really give up a lot of home runs. He gives up almost no home runs, but it's not to say that those guys in this hitters park can't hit a few home runs. But he's given up a ton of doubles, and people are still hitting power against him. So especially on DraftKings where you just need hitters just to stack up a lot of hits, you don't necessarily need home runs quite as much. I think even on FanDuel though. So I mean the leadoff hitter here, Chung Wong Lee, he's only $9 on FanDuel, $3,300 on DraftKings. And then of course you have Hyung So Kim. He's a little bit more expensive, but he's really good. And Roberto Ramos, of course. Those guys are all lefties. And then even Ji Hwan Oh batting fifth, and he plays shortstop. He's a value play. I like him at shortstop on DraftKings, $3,300 or $9 on FanDuel. So all those guys are really in play. And even the catcher, Kang Yam Yu, is he's $4,400. You have to pay up a little bit for him But if you need a good catcher on DraftKings, I like him as well. So I'd say because of the really good matchup and the park factor here, I have no issue loading up on quite a few bats from the LG lineup.
I'm with you. I think LG with 5 of the first 6 batters lefty, that usually smacks Pinto around pretty good. So, all right, game 4, which is the feature game of the night, obviously, the NC Dinos, first place 31-13. Against the second place Doosan Bears at 27-18. So this game definitely has some intrigue. The MyBookie stat, I keep wanting to say stats instead of odds. I don't know why, but the odds on MyBookie live, let me refresh again. Sometimes they flip around and change. You've got Doosan is a 149 home favorite, and a lot of that is because the Dinos pitcher is definitely a little shaky. And then here's the game with the highest over-under on the board again, just like last night. It's 10.5. So you've got, the 2 best hitting teams in the league, first and second place, with a high over-under. And I'm sitting here, I do not have any hitters from this game in my 5-star lineup. So not only do I love my 5-star lineup, Shane, but it's going to be contrarian. So, if you have some one-offs that you guys like, and you may here as well, Shane, you may want to mix them into my build of, that KT and Lotte stack that we'll talk about, the Lotte stack coming up. But I can see the point for a lot of these guys that you'd want to, build in there. Now, Alcantara can pitch 7-1, 3.70. I respect him, so that I think he can tame the Dinos' bats. But, Cha from the Dinos that's pitching is not an accomplished pitcher. So you would think Doosan would knock him around a little bit. The only problem for me with Doosan is 2, 3, 4, 5, the meat of their order are all lefties. And I just haven't seen them hitting the ball quite as well against lefties. So even though he's not that good, it's still a lefty that's thrown out there. And I would assume with all that meat in the Doosan order, they may bring a lefty out of the bullpen too. So this is an interesting game. I think it's going to be a highly owned game. And I'm going to Texas on this game. You know what that means? El Paso.
Okay, El Paso. There you go. Okay. Now, I think that this is very interesting because the Doosan Bears have an excellent matchup. Their hitters have a great matchup against Sung Young Cha here. This guy he hasn't really pitched that much. It's a very small sample size, but his, a little over 10 innings, but ERA 6.75, barely any strikeouts, like a little over 5% strikeout rate. Giving up home runs as well. He's just really bad lately. But Doosan doesn't usually put up quite as many runs, and the batters don't do as good at home. It's definitely a pitcher's park.
Point. Yes.
It's a great pitcher's park. However, so I think people are going to be looking at that. But also, here's the interesting thing. Most of the lefties for the Doosan Bears they hit really well against lefties. So most people are going to look at this and go lefty-lefty matchup. I think I want to avoid it. They're expensive, but I do like their lefties. I like J-L-O. He typically bats third. He plays first base. And let me get you his pricing here. He is only $3,900 on DraftKings. I think that's a great value. Now, just to give you an idea, actually, I don't think I wrote down his stats, but he was batting really good still, very similar against lefties. So there wasn't a drop off there. So he's really good. He's $15 on FanDuel. Now, Hwan Kim, the guy that we talked about in the opening, who's been on fire, he's probably the hottest bat in the entire league. Now, it's not a really big sample size, about 45 at-bats, but at least gives you an indicator. He bats over 300 against lefties. Now, he's hitting for power still, 14 hits, 3 doubles, 4 home runs, and 16 RBIs, and only 45 at-bats. So he can still hit for power there.
He's a stud. You know why he's raking?
Why is that?
Because you talk so much trash against him in our Discord.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We finally woke him up. I was like, this guy's supposed to be a star, so he got sick of it. He finally got motivated. Yeah, so I like him, and I like our guy, Ju Hwancha, who we play a lot, and he's reasonably priced. I noticed FanDuel finally raised his price a little bit. They're at $13 now for Cha. From Doosan, but he's only $2,800 on DraftKings. So I still would fire him up on DraftKings because against lefties, he bats .371, which you wouldn't think he'd be that great against lefties, but .371, 13 hits, 6 doubles against lefties, 2 home runs, 10 RBIs in a small sample size. So he's still raking against lefties, so you don't have to really worry about him as much. And then we have to see which catcher they're going to play. Whether they're going to play that, I think the other guy's name is Chung, but their normal catcher, because you have to play a catcher on DraftKings, say Hyuk Park, he's $3,300 on DraftKings, and he bats .381 versus lefties.
And you know what the key is? Why he's a Sugar Shane play of the day.
He bats 8. Yeah, exactly. 8 hole. Yep, exactly. You get a value play down the 8 hole. Those, especially in this league, man, those guys down towards the end of the lineup, sometimes they just rake in this league and in league. So I like him as well. If you need to play, we got to check the lineups, make sure he's in there. And I like the Doosan pitcher Alcantara. So again, you're in a really good pitcher's park. Alcantara has been getting better and better and going deep into games. He can definitely make it through. He can get quite a bit of strikeouts here, and people are not going to want to play him because he's going against the Dinos. But he's had good outings against the Dinos in the past, so I'm not that afraid of the matchup here. And I think Alcantara, being that he's a mid-price guy, people are not going to want to pay that much for him. He's $27 on FanDuel, $8,600 on DraftKings. But I think you can get a little more contrarian by playing Alcantara because people are going to be afraid of that matchup. But I think he's going to have a good outing.
Though 7-1 with a 3.70 ERA at home, he's still going to get some ownership. I think he'll probably check in as the second highest owned pitcher after the Joker personally. But I don't know. I mean, people are intimidated by the Dino bats. There's no doubt about it. But you made the point of really the night, in my opinion. And I think the shifter of why I think we can take down some slates here is Doosan scores a ton more runs on the road than they do at home. I mean, it's substantial as far as batting average, extra base hits, home runs. They rake on the road, and at home they're just, sort of middle of the road because it's a little bit tougher part to hit in. So I like the fact that Doosan, that's a step back for them. And I appreciate you bringing up those lefties that do hit lefties. I think that's a good point. And, you may get a few of those Doosan bats as a bargain. J-Chus still not priced right. He hasn't been the whole season, but there are some few guys in this game that you can consider certainly for one-offs, but I absolutely respect Alcantara, and I just think possibly Doosan with less hitting at home than on the road, maybe you're not going to have a blow-up game. But again, Vegas has it as the highest scoring, 10.5. So
yeah, and I will say they might be able to buck that trend of not hitting that well and not scoring a lot of runs at home. They might be able to buck that trend tonight because this pitcher is really bad for the Dinos.
He is bad.
Normally the Dinos have some pretty good pitchers, but this guy's really bad.
How many Doosan players do you think our man Andrew Hansen's going to have tonight? About 5?
Yeah, I think at least 3 or 4. Yeah.
Oh, he'll stack the daylights out of Doosan tonight.
No, I think they're good. I think people are afraid of them because it's a lefty on lefty, even though these lefties do really good. So not only are the lefties good against lefties, they're going up against a really bad left-handed pitcher here. I don't know. Do you have the stats on the Dinos bullpen? Because they're going to get to the bullpen probably pretty quick.
Their bullpen is one of the better ones in the league. So that's another point. There. And that's why they have the best record in the league. I mean, that's a big part of it is, considering they're 31-13, they really don't have tremendously dominating starters. And yet, their bullpen keeps them in games. Plus, they knock the cover off the ball a lot of times. So, yeah.
I apologize. I have one more value play. When the Doosan is going up against lefties, they'll throw in their Hai Seong Cook with a K, K-O-O-K, and he plays outfield. If he starts tonight, we're going to check and see where he's batting in the lineup. He's only $2,200 on DraftKings, and he's $5 on FanDuel. So let's say if you needed a $5 play on FanDuel who could hit for power, and he bats .333 in a small sample size against lefties, I think Cook it's a really good play here if he's in the lineup, which I think he's a switch hitter, and he typically does pretty good against lefties.
That's a great point. And that brings me, just to remind everybody, the big edge we've had in KBO all year, and Shane and Andrew, jump in there with me all the time in Discord 30 minutes before lock, whatever crazy time these KBO folks are playing. Usually it's a 5:30 a.m. Eastern start. Tonight it's a 4 a.m. Eastern start. So we'll be in there at least 30 minutes before lock to double check all of the lineup changes, the big value plays. If Kook gets in there for Doosan, could be a real sweet little play. A lot of things that I don't think, some of the other competitors here are going to be able to see or point out. So join us, man. DFSCoachTalk.com. Remember, if you become a member, the clock does not start ticking on your membership until July 30th. So we had said all along we're going to wait till some of the U.S. main sports are back. And by the 30th, we'll have NBA and Major League Baseball. So, enjoy the next 4.5 weeks until that starts, and build up your bankroll with some KBO and some PGA. You can't beat it. All right, let's hit this last game. Samsung Lions 23-23 against the Lotte Giants 21-22. Here's my second favorite stack of the night, sir, and it's the Lotte Giants. I love the middle of that order. Soon, Gian, and Lee, and Machado. Those 4 guys, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think are all very playable. I'm not impressed by Beck, the pitcher from the Lions. I think that statistically Lotte does better at home. The middle of that lineup has been getting a little hot, and they're not priced badly at all. I think it's a huge deal on FanDuel where 2 of those guys, and I'll just lay them right out there because I think they're good prices, is Gian's 12 and Daeho Lee as cleanup hitters 10. So you got, 2 really solid infield spots that you can utilize on FanDuel, to get a big jump on everybody else. And Also, Machado, I think, is a terrific play tonight at short. He's 4,600 on DraftKings, so he does, fit with some of the builds. And I think Lotte's the team to go to on this side of the ledger, and I think this could be a fairly low-owned squad. Sampson is nothing to write home about either. It's just not sure on the Samsung side who you want to play. I have no problem with Jae Wook Koo, the number 3 hitter, lefty against Sampson. Definitely could do some damage. And Hyman Park, the number 2 hitter. So, I think this is a playable game. My bookie's got Lotte at minus 163. The over-under is that the right one? Yes. And the over-under is 9.5. So, you've got a pretty good favorite here. The second highest favorite or third highest favorite on the board. And over-under sort of in the middle of the pack. So I like the Lotte side here. I think this is a sneaky game that, may put up some numbers.
And I'm kind of the complete opposite on this. I'm going to rain on your parade here. If you just look at the last 2 outings for these pitchers, I know it's a different matchup, but both of these pitchers are really in a good form right now. This Adrian Sampson is a former. He used to play for the down there, the Texas Rangers. He had a short stint. Wasn't that great in the majors.
That's why I know he stinks.
Yeah. But his last outing, he went up against the KT Wiz, who's pretty decent.
He had a good outing.
Yeah, I mean he was cruising. 6 innings, only 3 hits. 7 Ks, and then Bach, who's normally a really bad pitcher. Put up a really good outing against Kia last time out as well. 7 innings, only 4 hits, gave up 1 run, 5 Ks. So these guys are both in good form right now, according to their last outing. When I'm going with that momentum they have, and I looked up Junwoo Jeon is not that great against lefties, even though he's a righty. So he's one of the Lotte bats that normally you would want to target. And Machado also had a huge drop off against lefties. Now, Machado is really hot right now, so I do like that about him, that he's swinging the bat really good, and he seems to be locked in at the plate. But those guys had significant drop-offs against lefties. Dae-Ho Lee was pretty solid against lefties, and I like his potential for batting its power here. But I feel like this is just one of those lineups that, they either don't really do anything or they hit a long ball, and Dae-Ho Lee is that ultimate guy that often does that. So I do like Dae-Ho Lee, the old veteran here. Did he used to play for? I feel like he played for the Seattle Mariners for a short period of time back in the day.
Absolutely did.
Yep.
So I pop them too.
Yep. So I like the old savvy veteran here, but I'm not as high on that Lotte stack, and I feel like this is a sneaky pitcher's duel here. Very sneaky pitcher's duel.
Oh my God! Okay, I know. I gotta respond a little bit.
When I say sneaky, I mean sneaky. I don't throw the term sneaky or sleepers.
I think
around
you're trying to say stinky is what you're trying to come up with here.
Yep. So we'll see.
Let me talk about Mr. Sampson a little bit. I know he had a decent outing last time. Both of these pitchers had a decent outing. I tend to argue here, I don't believe that puts them in good form. Let's look at a few numbers here. Sampson is a big fat 5.96 with a whip of 1.64. I mean, that stings. And you look at, he's pitched 25 and 2/3 innings, and he's given up 34 hits, 17 earned runs. So, I mean, they're stinging him, and his ball looks flat to me. I mentioned this on one of the other podcasts. Eduardo Perez was doing the game. I respect his opinion, and he was, his comment was Sampson's ball is flat. It just doesn't have any, zing to it right or left. It doesn't tail. And, when a guy's throwing in the upper 80s, which is BP for some of these pros, and it doesn't have a lot of movement, it just, they're stinging it. Now, I give you the fact that he's not giving up a lot of homers, but they're still stinging, a lot of line drives. So that's a little bit of a concern there. So that is interesting. Now, on the other side, hold on here, hold your horses. I got to respond on Mr. Bayek too, because we may have to do a little side bet action on this game here. Mr. Bayek has a 5.34 with a 1.47 whip. So Sampson and Bayek are the two second and third highest whip on the board. And you've got only 32 innings from Bayek, but yet he's given up 40 hits, and he's already given up a big fat 7 homers. So that is a huge flag for me. I think that this game goes over. Let me look at the MyBookie number because I want some side action here.
What did you say, 9.5 maybe, or?
The game is 9.5.
Yep.
I'll take the over. You take the under.
Yep.
And what are we gonna bet for? Our next show, let's see. We have to do something that really is rough. Like I had, the best was when Andrew had to go shirtless. That was the best one ever. But I won't do that with either one of us because we don't want to scare people.
You want to do the hat on backwards again?
No, because that's not painful for you. Plus, I don't want people to think I wear it backwards all the time.
Yeah.
What can we do? I know during the entire podcast that we do together, we have to refer to the other guy as the king.
The king. Okay, that's fine.
So, it's up to you, King. You got to call the guy the king for the whole podcast on this side bet. So, and I'm plan on being the king. That's all I'm saying. So we got it, man. So we'll see. This is going to be good. Great thing is for our listeners, it's wonderful to disagree and counterpoint stuff and, take some of the things that we're talking about and then certainly jump on Discord and see. You'll have my full FanDuel lineup and you'll have Shane's player pool for DraftKings. So I think we've got it, man. You got anything else you want to throw out there?
No, I mean, going to your point of this game hitting the over is this Samsung Lions have been pretty hot lately. Their lineup in terms of hitting. So that's one thing you do have working for you there is that Samsung has been a little better. But these pitchers are, like I said, they've been pitching a little better lately. So that's going to be interesting. But the one thing I know about KBO is there's always some unpredictable odd stuff that happens on every single slate, every single night. I think we can all probably agree on that there's some unpredictable odd stuff that happens here.
KBO is a lot of variation of crazy stuff, no doubt about it. Before we go, quick thanks to mybookie.ag and for tvg.com, our sponsors. Also want to let everybody know, as we do at the end of every show, our charity of choice here at DFS Coach Talk is mambaon3.org. That's MAMBAONTHREE.org. Wonderful charity set up by Vanessa Bryant. So there you go. We've had a little bit of a counterpoint today. We got our feelings out there, and it's a 5-star slate for me. I believe a 4-star for Shane. Yeah. So some of the stuff we have is, hopefully we both can find a way to crush this slate with a little bit different shifts of lineups. But the one thing we do have in common is some of our fades, I think, are similar that are going to make us contrarian to everybody else. So particular the Joker and particularly not huge stacks on Dinos Bears, which is the highest over-under. So it's going to be a fun slate, man. I plan on making some coffee around 1 a.m., getting some juices flowing here, get in Discord, and then, watch all these runs coming in specifically from Samsung and Lotte.
Yeah, I think this is good. I think it's going to be a good one. Yep. And then we'll see if Doosan can break their trend of not being able to score much at home. I think they actually are going to do that tonight. And then Doosan lefties are good against lefties. That's the other unusual trend. So
one of us is going to be talking. We're going to be talking a lot of noise in Discord. I know that much for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, we have a lot of good stuff to go with.
Great points. It's going to be a fun night for sure. And join Andrew and I tomorrow on KBO for this Saturday for the Sunday slate in KBO. So awesome job, man, as usual. The good luck charm, Sugar Shane. Let's make this another good luck night where we take stuff down. So appreciate everybody listening. We're going to get this thing posted right now so everyone has a chance to take a listen or watch on YouTube. And, follow us on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. He is at DET Sports Shane, and Andrew is at Language Olympics. So enjoy your evening and your weekend, Shane. Appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for another podcast of DFS Coach Talk. We'll look to catch you again tomorrow when we crush it in KBO DFS.